when we inspire confidence, it's through the way that we work. It's our why we do things is the reason why we inspire confidence in not just our clients, but also it creates an environment where everyone else follows your lead. Welcome to SCS Podcast. My name is Vijay. I'm going to be working with Siva today, and we're going to be talking a little bit about how and why what we do affects the people and what really drives us forward and why we do what we do. All right? So the first question I have for you, Siva, is why do we function the way that we do as a company?
That's a good question. Why do we do what we do? I think when I first started the company, I thought about why do I want to start this company? There are so many other people doing this. Why? What's going to be different about it? What do we want to accomplish? What do we want to accomplish? Why we want to do this? I think one of the things I thought of at that time doing that, and it's still my vision, is to make sure that we contribute our gifting into this world in the world of infrastructure, where we can do things the right way that can impact a lot of people. This is serving the public and reducing the overall tax burden to be, if we can keep the infrastructure safe and functioning as it ages. And so really, it's not only that we're going to be able to do this well because I'm trained in that area, but I'm thinking about more than, we want to contribute something, and we want to leave the place better than we found. And so that's kind of what drove me to start this preservation, corrosion, business. That's kind of where it's all started.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's interesting. One of the things I wanted to ask you was when you are working and before you started your business, why are these things important? What in your life has led you to believe that serving the public through infrastructure is a reason to go out and do so much on your own as opposed to working with somebody else?
Well, why is it important, right? I think in my life, one of the things I wanted to, this is what my dad always said, right? Make sure whatever you do, all right, you do it well and you make a difference. However small it is, just make a difference. And so when I thought about how do I want to make a difference in life, right? You could do millions of things, and people do millions of things. I know I'm gifted to, in the particular area of infrastructure and civil engineering. And so I thought to myself, how can I contribute to the society in that vein? And one of the things I thought of is to do things well, to make things better. And I have the gifting to do that. And I thought I could do well, and I can contribute to, and I can make a difference. And to this day, that's what we're trying to continue to accomplish, is to make a difference. Things deteriorate all around us, right? Things deteriorate all the time. The goal for me is to sustain it as long and as well as possible, so that we are not only contributing to the betterment of the society, but we're not directly by making bridges better, but also indirectly by not taking resources that could be used elsewhere, and by reducing the amount of pollution that we would have if we constantly throw things away and create new things. So there's a direct benefit to the society, but there is also an indirect benefit. And so there's the contribution that we do may be small, but it does make change.
So you're saying that the real reason why this venture helps the people, how you're able to help people in the general public is not simply through keeping their infrastructure running, but it's also by making sure that the resources that they put together are put to good use. That's amazing. That's a great reason to start something like this. So that kind of brings us into why we are what we are, right? If these are our goals, is to serve the public, and then what characteristics help us do that, right? So one of the things that I wanted to ask you was, why is integrity important when it comes to serving the public?
Good question. Why is integrity important? Well, the word integrity comes from integral, meaning to put things together to make whole from parts. And how do we do that? Like from the moment we identify, interact with the client, to the executing the solution to make that structure last longer, there is a lot of aspects of things that need to get done. First of all, we need to know, what the problem is and what's causing all these issues, and then figuring out what we need to do to address those problems, and how much time we're going to spend, how much money we're going to spend. Is it worth it? Is the client have the money, and do we plan to get the money later? So a lot of things have to happen. All that need to be worked together, and so we have to have integrity in that process, because we could be tempted. You know what? I just want to sell. If he's got 50,000, we can spend the 50,000. It doesn't really matter whether we really solve the problem or not, right? We want to keep always in focus. Hey, we are here to contribute and make things better, and we want to work towards that in all actions that we take, interacting with the client, to doing the work, and to producing a product that's going to be good, accurate, technically good, and solves the problem, and at a reasonable cost, and do it within time so that it's useful, whoever is receiving it. So that's being true to the client, being true to the cause. Integrity drives that.
So the integrity is an integral part of who we are, because when we provide a service to our clients, it is for the benefit of not just us, but for everybody else too.
Yeah.
And when we're doing something that's so important for the general public, making sure that those things that we give to our clients that are making decisions are accurate and they have the best data to make their predictions and schedule out maintenance for service life and their goals, making sure that we are doing everything we can to not cut corners and hold a certain standard allows them to be confident in what they receive from us, which then serves everybody, not just us and not just them, but everyone that's going to be using the infrastructure.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why collaboration is important for us, right? Because we don't want to just say, oh, we know what we're doing, just, we tell you what to do. And part of it is that we want to talk to them. We want to understand what they already know, because they lived with the structure for so long before we even got to the scene. I mean, they've had the structure built in, 1950, and they got all the data from 1950 to 2022, 23, 24. And so they know a lot more about the structure. So what we need to do is to first understand what is it that we know already, what is that they've tried before, and then figure out where the gaps are. And that comes by collaborating with them, understanding where is the structure, what is their question. Like, for example, sometimes the clients want to know, hey, we got a plan to replace this bridge another 10 years because there's some big, plan that's afoot to make this a HOV lane, make this a hot lane or whatever. So right now we want to do something so that we can get it for another 10 years. If you had known that, your scope is going to be very different than if you just simply threw a scope out, right? And so collaborating is key to understand, first of all, what is the client's question and where the structure is, then be able to come up with a solution that would serve them. So ultimately, we are serving them, we are serving the public by making sure we use all the information that we already know. So we find the gap and then we fill that gap with our skill set.
Right. Okay. So it's almost like our main goal, because it's not necessarily to complete contracts. It seems like our main goal is more to solve a problem, right? And so the main way to do that is to make sure we know exactly what goals are trying to be achieved, and the way to
Yeah.
do that is by collaborating with our clients and other people that we need to work with, making sure that everything fits together to achieve what we're trying to accomplish, which is the best use of public resources and time, right? So then the collaboration becomes really important when, because if all these different teams are working in different directions, then when we all try and pull together to create something and to make a decision, then everybody has a different idea and everything slows down, which inevitably puts the construction or maintenance or any scheduled event for the infrastructure, it puts
Yeah.
it back, and that makes the American people suffer. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you and circle
Yeah.
back to with integrity was, is there any specific scenarios or examples that you can think of where it's come down to a particular decision? Because everything in hindsight is 2020. Everybody sees, oh, I should have done this back then, right? But when you're in the moment, it's a lot more difficult to make these decisions, and it becomes less of an ethical question and more of a how do I keep things afloat, right? How do I do what I have to do and make sure that everyone gets paid and you run a business, and to make sure that the goals that we are trying to achieve are actually achieved. So is there something in your mind that stands out as to a decision that was difficult for you to make that inevitably paid off for you because of this part of the way that we work that has become so integrated into our reputation? Is there a way that you've developed that over time that other clients of ours have noticed or recognized?
Well, integrity is important because I think, when we are looking to solve a problem, we want to be solution provider. If we are not able to contribute to the solution in a meaningful way, that would be providing more value to the client, then we should at least let them know ahead of time. I may not be the right person for this. You know, there are people who come and ask me, what about the, corrosion of boiler tubes or things like that. Yeah, sure. If I can go there, work there, we could figure it out. But right now, what is the best solution for the client, right? Maybe we cannot finish a project within a certain deadline that they have. It happened in one of the New York project. They want something done in 2 weeks, and based on the scope they've given us, I said the scope itself is going to be 2 weeks, and then we have time process and write the report. I don't think we'll be able to do that, and it's a hard thing to say. You want that job, you particularly that particular one, very interesting project. I'd love to work on that project, but at the same time, you have to be truthful to the client. If you're not going to be able to finish by a certain deadline, you need to let them know ahead of time so they can make a decision whether to hire you or not hire you.
Right.
And you lose that job, that's okay. And also you also have the temptation to think, well, maybe the client won't give me another job. We got to shoehorn in to try to get the job. Well, you also have to think about all your people you're working with. They can only work so much. They can only do so much, and when you start overworking them, now they're going to make mistake for the clients that we have currently. And we need to really, that integrity comes into play. We care about our clients. We care about project. We care about our people. We care about our reputation. We care about the new clients. what is good, you know? And it's not about you, it's not about this, it's about what's good for everybody. And you always keep that in mind. That's part of being in, why we have integrity is important thing is we want to do what's good for everyone as best as possibly we know.
Right. And sometimes, like in that case with the New York job, is it's like if the best way to serve the public and to provide a solution is to let somebody else do it, sometimes that might be the best way to solve the problem that they have, right? And it might be a difficult decision to make,
Yeah.
but on your table, if you operate based on principle, then those decisions become a little bit more clear, right? Maybe not easy, but definitely more clear.
Yeah.
So that kind of brings us into talking about collaboration and how working with different people, especially in an industry like this, in civil engineering, where relationships are so important, and that's really how most of this business is done. So I would love to get a little bit of an idea of the role that collaboration plays in SCS and why working with people is so important. Why is communication and working with different individuals so important to SCS?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I would say, even when we talk about, when we onboard new people, right? One of the things we tell them is, hey, here's the basics of everything. Here's the, how we do things. But if you have any questions, ask someone. It's the easiest way to learn things fast. The goal of ours is we want to train people and then let them work. And when they have questions, they don't have to go figure out for themselves. We have knowledge that's about, 80, 100 years of knowledge here. And we can technically just talk to someone, get the answer, move forward. And that's collaboration. When I talk to my client, I talk about knowing everything they know. That's collaboration. When I talk to my prime consultant, what are they thinking in terms of what's possible in this structure solution wise? If they tell me it's already structurally deficient, we have to do so, and so to augment the structure. And then I use that information to figure out what I need to contribute that will fit within that. That's collaboration. And then if the client says, I have so much money and they need so much money, we need to figure out how we're going to come up with a solution that fits into all of that, right? And right. The time frame we have. Or if we give a solution, whether they have the local expertise to execute that solution, whether it's constructible, that's collaboration. You do all of that. Why? Why do we do that? At the end of the day, when we put out a product, it's not going to sit on the shelf. It's going to be implemented. And the benefit's going to flow out of our work. Ultimately, that's the goal. That's why we collaborate. And that's also why we inspire confidence in our clients. Because when we collaborate, we bring them along into our thinking process. They know there's not going to be a surprise. And they know that, hey, at the end of this, I know Siva is thinking about all these things. I know Siva knows what he knows and he will do it right because we're talking about integrity, right? We want to make sure that we do it well, we contribute, and that we also know that, hey, we are a small part of the big, a big scenario. And so knowing that and keeping them in confidence by bringing them along, that inspire confidence in them.
That's amazing. Yeah, so collaboration, it seems like because we focus so much on solving a problem as opposed to completing a list of work that somebody sends us, that's why collaboration is so important, because in order to solve the issue, we need to know exactly what the issue is and how we fit into solving that, right? So talking to people, not just the clients, but also within our own walls of collaborating with the people in our team so that knowledge is transferred and the vision that we have that you've built over these years comes across into the team, and so that everyone becomes part of a single unit that's in a very effective team at solving these issues, right? So that's amazing that collaboration has become a key element in developing what we've built over so many years. So Another thing that is a key part of developing relationships with
Yeah.
the people that you collaborate with is over the time that you've worked with them, how do you inspire confidence? Why is it important to inspire confidence with the people that you work with? Not just the clients, but also with the people that are underneath of you. Like, how is inspiring confidence important in terms of solving these problems that we have?
That's a good question. Why is it important, even within our own team, to inspire confidence? Well, first of all, we want to, at least, the SES vision, what I'm trying to build into this group is that um, we have certain knowledge and expertise, and that client rely on us to give that to them in ways that are practical. And so, even though we're hiring people, we're training them, our knowledge, group knowledge, is being transferred to the client. It's not one person. It's a group that delivers to the client. And so each one of them play a very significant role in delivering the overall, solution to the client. We don't talk about product, we don't talk about service. We are solution providers. We we do things that solve problem for the client, and you cannot do it just one man. It takes a team of people to deliver. I mean, I can't go out there and do the work on the bridge and then go to the lab and do all that stuff that needs to be done, process, and then write the report and, collect the money and distribute the money and coordinate with the subconsultant contractors to work with us to do that. So there's a lot of things to be done. Each one does differently, and each one is capable. For example, you're in the lab. I'm fully confident, you're able to do what you need to do. You're a client relation. I'm fully confident that you care about clients. You care about making sure they're being served well. And so I'm not worried about, hey, that going to be done right? Because we have system and process, and you know that, and the ultimate goal is to provide solution, and that solution requires that we do the job right the first time and do it well and be professional in our interaction. That creates a lot of confidence within the team, right? And the same thing applies. It creates confidence outside of the team as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually. So, when we inspire confidence, it's through the way that we work, right? It's our why we do things is the reason why we inspire confidence in not just our clients, but also as somebody that is working for you. What I've noticed is when I see you exemplify these characteristics, it creates an environment where everyone else follows your lead, right? And when we see the way that you work, how hard you work, and what you're willing to do, not just for your clients, but for the people that work for you, it inspires us to want to do the same for you, right? And the relationship that we have with you is very similar to the relationship that you would have with your clients, right?
Yeah.
Serving your clients and making sure that you constantly provide value to them, which means not just do what the contract says, but solve the issue that they have on their plate, right? So, inspiring confidence through the way that you work is not just helpful for people at your level, but it's also helpful for people at my level too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Inspiring confidence in your employers and in the people that you employ is a key element in making sure that the circle still comes back around, right?
Yeah, I agree there.
So, and that really kind of ties into having a trusted team, right? So, when you're building your team, when you started this company, it just started as you, right?
Yep.
There wasn't a team. It's still a small company, right?
Right.
Why is it that we even need a team? Why do we need a team?
Good question. First, when I started it, I was by myself, right? I even thought about not having a team because, we thought, well, team, we got to care for them. That'll be more work and things like that. But ultimately, after going through 2 cycles of getting the work, doing all the work, writing the report, and then go finding work and doing that. I thought either I can keep doing it or I can work for somebody else. What am I trying to do here? If I'm really trying to solve this problem, if I'm trying to be a solution provider, that I cannot do it all by myself. That's the realization that it came to. When you know that you cannot do it by yourself, look at the world. Look at all the companies that are there. The one-man company band, it starts off like that in a garage or whatever, but if it stays the same way, it will eventually not be a company. You can't sustain it.
Right.
But if you take the team, and you build that team, and you give them freedom, and you give them confidence, and they can do a lot more than what you can do on your own. And that's why a team member is really important. Look at our clients, all the DOTs, right? They have a ton of people, but they still hire consultants. They still hire sub-consultants. Why? It's important. You only have so much knowledge within you. We need the team to be able to accomplish things. And if you want to accomplish big things, you accomplish with the team. You cannot accomplish big things by yourself. It never happens.
I love that. If you want to accomplish big things, you need a team. Amazing. So, in terms of building a trusted team, why do you pick somebody to be a part of your team?
That's a good question. Why do I pick the people I pick? First of all, I pick people who are interested in infrastructure, number one, and people who have the same vision that I have. Integrity, hard work, trusted team member. And so when my questions to them, it's all about that when I'm interviewing people. It's not how much they know corrosion or NDT. We can teach them. But what we cannot teach them is the character traits. So that either comes with the person or it doesn't come. So when I interview people, I look for those. I look for, is he teachable? Is he aware of that he's a part of the whole and not himself the whole? Is he willing and ready to contribute to the whole? Is he taking seriously the client's needs and resources? And, is he understand that he is a part of the big picture to provide solution, that kind of thing. So all my questions in the interview time, I think about, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me what your goals are. Tell me, what do you like? Tell me what are your weaknesses. Tell me what are your strengths. And I'm listening to all that, and I'm making that decision. Is he aware that he's not all himself, fully capable? Or does he give me the confidence, say, yeah, I know what I know, but I also don't know a lot of things. And I can confidently say, I know what I can do, and I need to be a part of the team to execute what needs to be done. And that's what I'm looking for. People who knows certain things, we hire engineers, right? They have the basic background, but we also hire people who are not engineers. So we're not looking for only engineers. We're looking for people who have the character that would fit into our culture. Our culture is always, we provide solution. We provide it with integrity. We provide it with awareness of cost, awareness with safety, with contributing to the entire community as a whole. So I think if they have that awareness, they will do a good job.
Right. So it's not necessarily always that this person is on paper the most qualified, or they have the most technical experience, or their knowledge base is more expanded than most others. It's more so about the values that they have and the principles that they operate by. Do they align with the mission that SCS has? And that's how you pick your team members? Is that how I'm understanding it?
Yep, that is important. we also have people who are qualified in their own rights in terms of a civil engineer, mechanical. I also try to get, Stu is an electrical engineer. Why did I hire him? Our industry that we work in, we need knowledge of electrical engineering, we need knowledge of chemical engineering, we need knowledge of civil engineering, structural engineering, mechanical engineering. We have a lot of things that we have to deal with, right? So we would always be good to have different talent a part of your team, and also we need somebody who can think on their feet and get things done in the field. I think engineers are good, but there are other people also I know they can get things done. So we have a lot of people with different skill sets.
Right.
And that's the reason we pick people we know that will mesh in with our culture, that would be aware that they would solve the problem, they will deliver value to the client. At the end of the day, it's about serving the client. Is this person going to help us serve the client well? If they are, we hire them. Are they going to be professional in dealing with the client? It's key. The character is what helps them to do what they do. And knowledge, I know a lot of people with a lot of knowledge. Sometimes it's difficult to work with them. They know it all.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we go.
That's interesting. So the team that we build is important because that's who is providing value to the company and to our clients, right? It's
every person in this office is very, very important. And we don't have anybody here who's not needed.
Mm.
You know that. Even this morning, Ben had to go do some work for our client, but we rearranged it. We will still serve the client, but we will also serve the team. Right. So our goal is to give maximum service, without increasing cost and within the time that we have. Be most productive at all times.
Right. And so making sure that we have a team of people that are focused on providing value and operate on the same principles of integrity and team building and staying within our deadlines.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the qualities that we look for, and that's what leads us to be able to provide value to our clients, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So it's not just about a specific on-paper resume that you have. You could have all the things in the world, but if you don't have integrity and the ability to inspire confidence and the ability to provide value where you are and to look and find things that need to be done and make yourself of value, those are what's really important to any business, and that's what makes you valuable anywhere you go, right? Which is why even when we have interesting projects, right, not all of our projects are exactly the same. We don't just repeat the processes every single time. Sometimes we have to learn new things and change the way that we operate. And so making sure that we have a team that's based in those principles allows us to be a little bit more fluid with our capabilities, which is it's something that's very important in our industry, especially when things change as quickly as they do, right? So
right.
That kind of brings us into our next big thing, which is deadlines, right? Meeting these deadlines. It's a big deal because a lot of these companies that are looking for sub-consultants or the DOTs, for example, that need our work, these deadlines, why do they matter so much to them?
Well, I'll tell you an example. If the client is scheduling a project, he has a certain amount of money that he has allocated for the project. And if we tell them that we're going to finish this work by this time, and that he's planning to take our information and then advertise for construction, and then you'll finish the construction by that date, if he doesn't finish, he may end up losing the money. Now he has to go and canvas for more money later for the same project. That would be very difficult. you put your client in a big jeopardy because you didn't take the deadline seriously.
And so if we run over the deadline and then they have to push the budget into the next year or to pull from the pool of public resources allocated to our infrastructure, that means that less of those resources are going towards other things that people are bringing the money together for, right?
Well, for example, we just finished a project. One of the clients said, hey, we got certain money, but more importantly, we got to get this particular project accomplished and done by a certain time because we also have to finish the NBI inspection. Everything has to go into the system by a certain date. Would you be able to get that completed? We looked at it and said, the same client had two other projects for us. And I said, well, if you're flexible on these two, then we can focus on the first one and get it done. We can do that. And so when we talk to them and understand that, it's a part of, we tell the client, hey, we will do this, but we may have to push this back a little bit. Our client was very, very understanding. He said, sure, you can do that. And so being honest upfront and tell them you're trying to solve this problem for this client and that you need a little leeway on something else. And if they're able to do that, they will do that. If not, they may have to give it to somebody else and you be willing to accept that, right? Mm-hmm. So it's very, very important. Deadlines are absolutely important. You can't say, well, I'll do this, take everything and miss deadline. You put them in a big trouble. And our goal is to serve our clients. And you miss a deadline, you better be dead before you miss the deadline. That's my little mantra in there, Yeah. You can ask Stuart, you can ask everybody else.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
I say, you better be dead.
Oh, yeah.
Before you miss the deadline.
Yeah. So these deadlines are really important, not
Absolutely.
just to our clients, but also to the public, because it's ultimately their resources they're going to be taken from if we don't use our time efficiently. And if the contracts go out in a way that we can't provide value, if we accept something that we can't provide the value on, then it's a waste of public resources. And that comes back to our role of integrity. Is it's not just about our bottom line. It's about the public service.
Are we doing what we say we're going to do?
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, if we are not able to meet deadline, there's some problem, right? Somewhere down the line, there's a problem. You need to fix the problem, find the problem, and fix the problem. Maybe you took too much work. You didn't think about all the deadlines. You thought you were going to be able to do. And maybe there's a problem in the lab. There's some bottleneck in the lab, you need to fix that. Maybe there's some other sub-consultant that's supposed to do the work. They're delaying it. Ask them why. You need to coordinate all of that on top of all of that. That's why we have a morning meeting every single day. We're saying, hey, what's going on? Did we finish this? Does this go well? Is that so-and-so working on this? Is the traffic control going to be available? Is the weather okay? Did we call in ahead of time? We do all this stuff because we want to keep this moving, and so we can march everybody towards the deadline, and we keep the deadline. My goal is, if he can give it one day before, is better than one day late.
Right.
Absolutely.
So we strive to meet these deadlines because not only does it help inspire confidence in our clients and build a reputation, but also those people that we collaborate with and
they can do their job.
We want to work with them again, right? We want to be part of their team because we want to be known as the people that solve the problems that are given to us, right?
Yeah.
And so if our clients have these issues and they know us to be the ones that solve the problems, we can consistently provide value to them, right? And so that comes back to integrity also. When we meet our deadlines, it's because we've decided to take on the work that we can handle, right? We didn't decide we can possibly cut a corner and make it fit.
Nope.
Right? We always make sure that we can meet our deadlines and provide value to our clients.
Plus, we also talk to everybody. Hey, what's going on in the lab? What's going on with Ben and George? When is their vacation? When is their time off? We get it all on our calendar. When is Stu going to be away? When is going to be away? When is Siva going to be away? We put them all in the calendar so that when things are evaluated, every time a job comes in, we look and say, can we accommodate this? Because we care about our people, we care about our client, we care about our ability to do work safely. Safety is really important too. You can take so much stuff and you make them work 12, 14-hour days. When I tell you guys, when you come back, drive safe. We work nighttime, right? When they work at nighttime, I don't want them to finish night work and then drive 6 hours back. Rest. Make sure you're rested before you get up and go back to, driving back 6 hours. It's a safety issue. Why did we buy those lights for those guys? I saw that and I thought, well, this is going to be good. It'll make them visible, and they're standing at night at the traffic, and I don't want them to be hit. So those are part of things. Why do we have all the safety for the lab? Why do you wear the gloves every time you operate? It's not safety for you, but it's a safety for the client. We don't want our sample to be mixed up. We don't want our sample to be affected, right? So it's personal safety. It's also safety in terms of making sure we don't do anything that changes, the result for the client. So we're very, very particular about safety. It's really important to us. And safety for our people, safety for the way we do things. Make sure that our equipments are working right. We have all the tools and equipment we need. That's super important for us.
Yeah. So safety is one of those things where, especially when we talk about doing field work, which is sending guys out to take cores or to do anything like any inspections, anything that we have to send guys out for, and then they're either going to be working during the day or even overnight. It can be very difficult, not just with managing your sleep schedule to make sure that you're at an optimal working level for the time that you're going to be working, which could be during the day or it could be at overnight, which is it's a hard schedule to adjust to. And so if you're not ready to be safe and consciously thinking about that as a primary objective, then people are going to get hurt. And that doesn't just hurt them. It hurts our clients. It hurts you. It hurts everybody involved when somebody gets hurt.
Well, if one person get hurt or something happen in the field, the first thing that happens, the job is shut down. And we go on the headlines, on the newspaper and TV. We don't want to be there. We don't want to have anybody hurt. We don't want to have any incidents, even if nobody's hurt. We want to be not ever be noticed. We were in and out and nobody noticed who we were in and out, except for the people who are involved in the project. And that's our goal. We'll always work towards that.
Wonderful. So safety being such an integral part of the way that we do our work, it's involved in not just in the field work, but like we made a lot of changes to the lab. And so being safe in terms of accomplishing goals, why is being safe important towards achieving our main goal, which is solving problems?
Well, if you're not safe and somebody gets hurt and you know that you need your entire team to deliver a solution, for example, if your arm is gone, how effective are you going to be?
Not very.
If your leg is gone, how effective are you going to be?
Not very, right?
That's why safety is really important. For example, when I go do things, I'm always thinking, hey, I got so many projects, I'm needed in so many things. I don't go out there and take unnecessary risk to do stuff because I'm aware that, hey, it might affect so many things. I have to be careful, right?
Right.
And that's part of being safe in general and specifically at work because it would affect everyone. Everybody here is important. You remember, if one person goes on vacation, we have to plan that well ahead of time so that we continue to move forward, right? And we continue to maintain the deadlines. We continue to deliver to the clients. But if one of them unexpectedly get hurt, it affects us, right? And not only it affects us, we also care about the person, right? So I think safety is absolutely important because we are on the road where cars are going at 55 miles an hour.
Oftentimes more.
Oftentimes more.
Yeah.
So we cannot be, too safe. We always look to make sure. Why do we have a toolbox meeting every single day when you're in the field? Even though it's 5 or 10 minutes, we identify all the dangers that are there that day. What do we need to watch for, right? If you're working on a sloping abutment, right, it's slippery, and on the day it's raining, you got to be extra careful, right? And if you're working on a box girder, which is 100 feet up in the air, you're going on a man lift, right? You have to have a harness right. You make sure your harness is working right? And if you're chipping and doing things, you make sure you have your goggles on, right? We provide all of that to make sure. And we even provide for winter jacket. Why do we do that, right? We want people to be able to work in very cold climate. Life don't stop just because it's 20 degrees outside. We got to go out there and do the work.
Yeah, I remember, those jackets are amazing, by the way. They're like 0-degree construction jackets, super reflective. They're really visible, super comfortable. They actually look pretty cool, too.
Yeah. You should thank George for that. He showed me that and said, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea from George, right? This is it, right? We have a problem.
Shout out to George.
Yep. And no matter what, our team is put together in a way that they identify these problems and they work to fix it. They bring not just the problem, but they bring a couple of solutions with it, right?
Absolutely.
So that's part of building the team, right? And that's why every team member is valuable. And so keeping them safe is a number one priority because every single one of them has a very important role to play.
Yep.
So you've been in this industry for a really long time. You've been at all levels. You've been in the field and you've done a lot of the administrative work. What are some of the things, do you have any stories of safety that there is a particular incident that stands out in your mind where safety was the number one thing you were thinking about at that moment? Is there anything like that for you that you can think of?
That's a interesting question. Well, there is an instance I can think of. We were working on a box girder bridge about 100 feet up in the air, and we used a man lift to get up there. When we all went in, we would park the man lift and we climb in and we'll do the work. And 8 hours later, we come back down. The bucket will still be there. We jump in the bucket and get down and go. On this one occasion, apparently there was a leak in the hydraulic. So when we left it up there, it went down 8 feet. And so we're 100 feet up and it's gone down 8 feet. Are we going to jump in there? Is it going to still be there when we jump into it? And I said, well, I don't think that's really safe to jump. It doesn't matter who's going to jump. It's not safe. So how do we find out? Well, luckily, we always had this. We always find a firefighter name and number to call should something happens. We always have that for every project. And we all debated about whether to call the firefighter. Can we solve this problem safely? How do we do that? One of the guy came up with the idea, why don't we string up all of the harnesses we have? Let's put a hook in there, and we put it together, and we nailed the hook down, and we held this guy, and one guy put the harness and lined up the harnesses. The harnesses extend to 10 feet, so we can lower him down without him completely, jumping down in thin air. And so we solved the problem. It's thinking on the spot, trying to figure out how to solve the problem.
Right.
And the next option was to call the firefighters, come there and bring that ladder up and get us down. That was the next thing.
Yeah.
So we had different options, but safety was an issue. The biggest thing I was thinking of is safety. It's not about macho who's going to jump off that bridge. It's about making sure we're alive at the end of the jump.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and so this way we didn't have to jump. We can safely land, and then we can, we found out that it still came up, and it just was a small leak over time, and then we had that replaced the very next day. So that was one event.
That's super interesting because, I mean, I know you have a million stories like that.
I got tons of them.
It's funny that it took you so long to come up with one, even though I know that you have a trillion of these stories just loaded up, ready to go. Everyone thinks that engineering as a field is all about numbers and math, right? But even in terms of just real-world application of these things, there's a lot of creative thinking that comes into it, even as it regards to just simply safety and trying to be safe on the job site, right? But when it comes to what do we do and how do we solve a problem for our clients, creativity comes a lot into play there as well, right? And so we have to balance our safety with staying within our budget, right? Because if you have an incident where it requires you to replace your equipment frequently, or there's an issue with somebody got hurt and now we don't have the manpower to complete our activities that we need to get done, right? How does staying within our budget interact with safety and all of our other key principles that we operate by? How do we do all of those things while staying in budget? Why is that so important to stay in budget while we also handle all of our responsibilities and our core principles?
I'll tell you what, if I had to pick between safety and staying within budget, I'll pick the safety first. And there are times we've done that where we've gone past the budget, but we won't transfer that to the client. And we will make sure that we spend what we need to spend to keep people safe, and we would not charge the client. We will not exceed our budget. That's really important because the client, once they give us the work, they're expecting that you will do all this work safely and deliver the product to them, right? To deliver the solution to them. And I want to be a solution provider. I don't want to be a problem provider, right?
Right.
It's easier to provide all kinds of problem, but providing solution requires that you remove problem, and they shouldn't even know about it. And many a times we do this. We buy those, the lights. We don't charge the client. We buy the, whatever you need for safety there. If you had to do something fast, we have generators that's safe, and we put them away, right? So that we're not getting the fumes, right? There are a lot of things we do the clients may not know, but our goal is safety for our guys, safety for the public. We don't dance around, near the cones. We don't walk around. We pay attention. We're very careful. That's one of the things we talk about in the toolbox meeting, right? Make sure that you are not be aware of your surroundings all the time. And whatever we need to do that. We provided jackets for everyone. Is that really necessary? No. But we provide that because it's part of safety, Yeah. If somebody is freezing to death, right, how is that going to benefit the client? How is that going to be productive, right? If they are less productive, what happens? Then you need one extra day. That means you need one extra day of MOT, right? You increase the cost, you increase the time. It all works together. Safety is important. So we don't charge the client for whatever we do, to make sure we're safe. It's a part of doing business.
Right.
If on a particular project we have to do something extra to be safe, we'll do that. We will not charge the client. Because staying within budget is absolutely essential if you really want to be inspiring confidence in your client.
So when we say that we would put the safety above staying in budget, and like you just said, you wouldn't even pass those costs onto the client, even if that is the particular cost of the job, right? That's technically the expenses of the job. You would incur those costs yourself to stay within the budget so that you can continue to provide value to the client. But I think the reason that you do that I've seen just from working with you is that I know that you care so much about the team that you've put together. You care about these people truly. And that, I think, is what pushes over the line that emphasis on safety, where we're willing to stick our necks out to make sure that our team is safe, as opposed to trying to fit it in our numbers so that it works and that we maximize profitability. It's not about that. It's about our team having the ability to continue operating on the principles that we've built the firm around, right? And the ability to continue doing that. Safety is a huge part of it. Because if we can't stick within our budget, being safe allows us to stick within our budget on the next one, right? And so we can always make more money. We can always get another job, but we can't get somebody back, right? If somebody isn't in a position where they're safe and there isn't a structure around them providing all the things they need to be safe, then there's no business, there's no serving the public, and there's no solving problems, right? Because safety of the people that accomplish these goals, because every single member is needed, it's one of the most important parts of getting done the things that we have to get done, right?
Yeah, but if safety is not the big thing in our life, why are we doing what we're doing, right? We're trying to keep the bridge open so that, the ambulance can go across, the firefighters can go across. Why? So they can save lives. And so we're talking about safety overall for the entire community, but then we're going to violate safety locally here to accomplish safety there. That's not integrity, right? You want to be integral. And that means that the vision of being safe for the traveling public, meaning safe for everybody.
Right. That just carrying your belief system, operating and making decisions based on principle versus particular scenarios or situations. I think that's one thing that I've noticed has been very helpful in not just in collaborating with other entities and people, also in inspiring confidence, building your team, and creating a reputation of integrity. That it's so important, because when we have people that rely on us, right? The public, they, like you were just saying, if ambulances can't get across a bridge, if firefighters can't go fight their fires, then the entire public suffers, right? It's not just about us. It's not just about our clients.
Right.
It's everybody.
Right.
Our role in society fits in to anybody's day-to-day life. And so that's why...
Think about it. If we don't do something safe and the bridge is closed, right? And that time, the ambulance is going to somebody's house and they can't use that bridge, they got to go around. Or the lanes are closed and they took another 5 minutes to get there. Somebody's having a heart attack.
Right.
We want to be careful. That's why if you see, when we're going to take a lane, we have to tell the client 2 weeks before, and the client puts an arrow board to make sure that the people know a week ahead of time so they can plan and next route, whatever they need to do. So we do a lot of stuff to make sure safety is taken through and through the entire project. And if you're going to work and be a part of the project, we are to take safety very carefully and seriously, so that we don't want to even indirectly contribute to something that we regret later, right?
Right.
So it's really important.
Being safe on the job site, not just on the job site, but everywhere that we apply ourselves, is key to making sure that we can continue to solve problems and provide value, right? So another thing that I really wanted to get into was why are we sustainable? What is the reasoning behind that? Why is that a focus for us, being sustainable?
Yeah, why sustainability? Well, the kind of work we are engaged in is either designing new structures that would last 100, 150, whatever years that we design them for, or existing structure we're working to make sure that it lasts as long as it can. The reason for that is if we are to replace bridges every 50 years, we have to create new cement, new steel, new number of things, and all the machinery that work to put that together. You take a lot of resources to put stuff together. Then why not make sure when you put it together so it'll last the time that you are designing for and some. When you are actually doing a repair, make sure that it'll last for the longest time possible. Why is that important? Because it reduces the resource that we consume. That reduces the amount of pollutants that we put in. It also reduces the amount of sickness that people experience over time. So all of this, it may not be directly related to what we do, but everything we do affects a lot of things. So sustainable solution is really, really important over time. Because for a society that is completely unaware of sustainability, they can end up throwing things away. They don't recycle. They don't, keep this the longest possible time. And soon enough, you see, first of all, they spend more money, right? And they run themselves ragged, working harder to make money. And then the society around them crumbling, and the climate is worsening because of all of this. How can you have a better life in a community that's not sustainable?
If your crumbling infrastructure is not able to support the need that it was built for, then it wasn't a sustainable endeavor, right? So then we're just producing waste and destroying our environment for not even achieving the goal that we set out to achieve, right? So sustainability is such a huge part of what we do. It's almost the reason why we even exist, right? Is to make sure that our bridges and our infrastructure, buildings, anything that we work on is going to be effective for the amount of time that it was designed for, that allows us to plan things out and reduce any impact that we might have on the environment, on the people around us, and on the public, right?
Yeah, we've done now several design build projects where we are developing a corrosion protection plan. That wasn't the case even 5 years ago. We were primarily working on existing bridges, figuring out how to fix them to extend the service life and preserve them for a longer time period. I mean, now most of the bridges are coming to an age of 50 and 60 years old. In those days, they designed those bridges for 50 years. Some of them we can replace because it needs a wider bridge, it needs a heavier, loads to carry, and so you have to replace them. But there are a lot of other bridges that are functional and it doesn't have to be replaced, but they have to last another 50 years. So that's where we come and help the client to figure out how much salt has gone in, how long before it'll, really make the bridge worse. Based on the data we have, we can predict the future deterioration. How long will it take to damage to develop a certain level? But we can do something today to change that trajectory. Instead of going to have to be replaced, we can change that rate to much lower so that the clients can spend some money today and allow that to continue to serve for another 50 to 100 years. And I know in New York, their structures are 70, 80, 90 years old, but they want another 50 years because in New York there's so much traffic, there's no way to replace the bridge, right? So the concept has come into, and most of the states realize that, hey, if we're going to so they have actually increased the service life design requirement to 75 years instead of 50 years, realizing we may have to keep these things longer than we thought. And I know there are a lot of other countries like India, they're building bridges like there's no tomorrow. And yeah, it's a developing country. They build a lot of bridges like we did in the 40s and 50s. But are they really thinking about building it to last another 100, 150 years? Are they simply using the technology that we have used 70, 80 years ago to build for 50 years? You know? So we thought about it. I think a lot of the states are moving towards, even at the design stage, we want to think about how do we make sure this will last 100, 150 years instead of 50 and 75 years. And so that's where we are right now. We're working on several projects, design build projects. We're working with the designer and the builder, Skanska and AECOM, or Skanska JMT, whoever, right? We're working with them. Shout out to Skanska, shout out to AECOM, shout out to HNTV, shout out to JMT. A number of folks we work with, a lot of good people we work with, T.Y. Lin, Parsons, all these people we work with, because now we're trying to figure out how do we do what we do at the front end. And we develop a document that tells the client, hey, this is how we're going to achieve a 100-year service life. Here is our plan for that. And the client is able to say, even though it's a design build project, at least I have the builder is giving me how he's going to achieve it. And then they have an opportunity to comment on it. And then we have to address those. And so everybody is in the loop talking about collaboration. That allows the collaboration to occur where the client is already looking at saying how they're going to achieve. And then they're brought along, oh yeah, they are going to achieve. This is the way they're going to achieve. These are the things we're going to maintain. These are the things we have to do in the next 30 years or 60 years for replaceable elements. All the non-replaceable, they're designing it for 100-year service life. And so this structure has a plan. And it's built into it at the beginning and not reactive. And that's why we're doing sustainability at the front end.
Right.
And we are doing sustainability as we are moving forward for the existing bridges.
So shifting our focus primarily towards extending our infrastructure service life is ultimately what increases our sustainability as an infrastructure system, right?
Right.
It's using what we have for a longer period of time means that we have to do less damage to our environment around us and changing our ecosystem in order to fit our needs, right? We want to do that as little as possible. And so one of the biggest parts of that, like you're saying, is increasing the service life of the infrastructure that we already have and the new ones that are going to be built, right? It's a wonderful thing because by increasing the service life, we can minimize a lot of impacts that construction and material sourcing and development will have on the environment. Because infrastructure is such a necessary part of society, it's not something that we can entirely avoid, right? But if we focus on creating things that are built to last, it does so much less damage to anything else around us that we can then leave our same infrastructure and systems for our kids to enjoy the same way that we did.
Yeah.
Right?
I'll give you an example. We used to have a house where we had all the tomato plants in the back, right? We have our own tomato plants. And the squirrels will come and take one tomato, take a bite, throw it away. And they come another one, take a bite, throw it away. And we had hundreds and hundreds of tomatoes with one bite taken and thrown away. And if we keep doing that for our infrastructure, what a waste. And if that's what we would be doing, if we just simply throw it away and bring a new one in, right?
Right.
We talk about it. When you want something in the house, we say, take what you want, eat first, make sure, and then take some more if you need it.
Right.
Right? That's sustainability. As society as a whole, if they're conscious about sustainability, then the resources go a long way to serve more things to more people. If we are sustainable with our infrastructure, right? If we spend less on maintaining this, then there'll be more money available to build stuff that we need to build, right? Every country, every society needs infrastructure to move. Think about society. In India, where I grew up, to go from one place to the other, 30 miles of driving, you know how long it takes? It takes 2.5 to 3 hours. You go 30 miles, yeah, you probably do it in less than an hour. That's what the mobility does. That's what a good infrastructure does. Even today in India, 200 miles takes 8 to 10 hours. I'll be driving today, 200 miles take me about little over 3 hours. That's it. A huge difference. 3 hours was 8 to 10 hours. How much more commerce can go in a community where we live compared to the community in India? Think about it.
Wow.
Why do you think India is building feverishly all those bridges and roads? They want to be competitive with the rest of the world. That's what they're building like crazy. And my question to them is, are you building sustainable infrastructure? Or are you simply building and then you got to spend a lot more to replace them or fix them? Why don't you do it sustainably now? Design it now. Do it right, right? And so that's a huge difference. U.S. has the greatest advantage. Our roads and bridges are phenomenal. It allows commerce to take place, and they connect the ports and airports and railway stations and distribution centers and people workplaces. And you can go from here to Reading and pick up your tires and come back here, all that in an hour and a half. You try to do that in India, it'll spend all day doing that.
That's interesting, because that's like a real world scenario that was for me last night. I had to go. My rim cracked on my truck, and so I had to go get some new wheels. And the only reason I was able to do that is because of the infrastructure that we've built. Is that didn't take me enough time where I had to set aside a whole day for it. Right?
Yeah.
I was able to solve that problem and continue on with the goals that I need to accomplish. Right? Because of our infrastructure that we've built.
Absolutely. Our infrastructure is, for all the conversation, I know our infrastructure is aging. I know, there are things that we have to do to maintain them. I know all that, but I think this country's infrastructure is amazing. When my brother came in 1995, he looked at the infrastructure and said, wow, this is amazing, And so we have the greatest infrastructure, sure. But if you're going to be competitive, we're going to have to maintain them. We can't let it go. We can't let it die.
The last element of our business that helps us achieve our goals, all of them together, especially the collaboration part of it, professionalism. Why is professionalism so important? How does it relate to all of the other key principles that we've talked about today?
Professionalism is very important for us. Why? Why is it? It's very important. Why is it very important? Think about, all of us have difficulties in life, right? We have personal life, we have our careers, and personal life has some difficulties. And we are interacting in our business life with, colleagues. You interacting with Ben, me interacting with you, me interacting with Stuart, Stuart's interacting with George. If we bring into our professional life the frustrations of personal life, or even within the professional life, things don't exactly go, right? The electrode broke, right? We had to order an electrode. That's one of the reasons we always have a spare, thank God. We can move on and go.
Right.
But what if you have to do that? Now, he has to stop what he's doing to go and order those things, right? Then things get, then he's frustrated. How do you handle frustration? Do you bleed that into relationship with others? You can't do that, right? You can't scream at people. People make mistakes. You can't scream at them. You have to correct them professionally. Tell them, hey, this is the effect of that. We can't do that. We're serving our clients. Let's make sure we do it safely. We do it cost effectively, but we also keep it moving, right? To do it right. That's why professionalism is important. It increases stress if you are not professional. Screaming and crying and fussing is never going to make anything easy. It's only going to make it tough for everybody else around you. And when you're talking to clients, we're working with engineers, we're working with professional folks. You want to treat them professionally, courteously. And it doesn't matter. We want to treat everybody the same, right? Even within our office, we talk about it, right? If you have some issue, we want to talk about it. We want to try to come up with a solution, right? Don't bring problem, bring solution, right? And that helps you to be professional in your way you're dealing with people because it's important to us. You know, we want to be a part of the solution, right?
Yeah.
How is unprofessionalism being part of the solution?
Yeah.
Creating more stress, right? And so I think that would probably do it for the podcast today. Thank you so much, for guys, entertaining us. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Vijay, for asking all these questions. It's important, and so have a great time. Until next time, bye bye.